Not that long ago, I covered the angel sightings at the Battle of Mons, and that reminded me about this next case. I heard about this a long time ago on maybe Unsolved Mysteries or one of those type of paranormal shows when I was a kid, and I was just amazed by these stories and these sightings. It really just blew my mind. In the spring of 1967, the Jewish people of Israel were preparing for war as they were about to be attacked by four pretty powerful armies within that region at that time: Iraq, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. And these four combined nations had a heck of a lot more soldiers, more tanks, planes, firepower, and experience than the Israelis. And many believed that this was going to be the second Holocaust, as nobody thought that they were going to survive this attack. But not in years or months, the Israelis were victorious in 6 days. And it was considered by many to be a miracle, as there had never been a victory like this in modern history. And not too long after, and still to this very day, soldiers from both sides have come forward claiming that they had witnessed things that they just couldn't explain. Now, the Jewish state of Israel officially happened on May 14th, 1948, and ever since then there have been battles and other divine sightings. One very famous case happened in 1958 when the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, went into the Golan Heights to fight the Syrian army. And a man from the IDF got run over by a tank and he was seriously wounded. And the Syrian soldiers saw this man lying helpless on the battlefield, so they pulled out their guns as if they were going to shoot him. But all of a sudden they just started to run away. And these Syrian soldiers later stated that they saw thousands of angels around this man. And at about the exact same time, this wounded soldier said that he had heard the voice of God. And this voice, God, told him that he was not finished with him yet, and this man survived. Then in 1973, one Israel soldier took an entire Egyptian patrol all by himself. And when they asked the Egyptian commander why he and his men gave themselves up to this one soldier, he replied, "One soldier? No, there were thousands of them." And when they crossed into Israel territory, these beings just disappeared. And this soldier, who is now a hero, said that he could not make any sense of it. He thought that he was going to die, but instead the Egyptian forces just turned themselves into him. In another case, a small Jewish community with no soldiers was under attack by Arab forces, when all of a sudden they just ran away in great fear. And they later stated that they were being attacked by huge strange beings with flaming swords. Now, during the 6-Day War, something else other than divine beings happened, and it is just as baffling. One day, two Israeli soldiers were on patrol when they saw in the distance an Egyptian half-track equipped with mountain machine guns and filled with soldiers heading right towards them. And these two Israelis had nowhere to hide, so they had no other option but to stand their ground the best they could. But these Egyptians never attacked, and their half-track just stopped. So the two Israeli soldiers approached this vehicle, and they saw 18 men cowering in fear. And these men were begging for mercy, and they gave up. So the two Israelis captured these 18 men. And when they were later asked why didn't they shoot, they replied that they were about to, but then they were just struck with fear and their bodies froze. It was as if somehow they became paralyzed. They could barely hold on to their weapons. Now, there was just no explanation for this, so the two Israelis and also the Egyptians believed that God must have done this to them. In another case, an IDF truck filled with ammunition headed for the front lines was hit, but the shell never exploded. And if that shell would have went off, it would have killed hundreds of Israeli soldiers, civilians, and also would have destroyed many buildings. Then a day or so later, a rabbi was leading some troops to the western wall of the temple. And this rabbi seemed to be immune to the gunfire as he was all alone in the front leading the charge. But somehow, he never got hit. And this really didn't make any sense at all because of the amount of gunfire that was being exchanged. And because this rabbi never got shot by any of these bullets, they were able to win that battle. One of the most famous accounts happened when the Israeli forces were heading into enemy territory. And while they were entering into what they thought was going to be a very hostile town, the Arabs, their sworn enemy, were cheering, clapping their hands, just smiling at the approaching Israeli forces. And the Israelis were extremely confused, wondering what the heck is going on. Why were they being so nice? And even the town guards were standing still. They didn't even fire a single shot. So the Israelis were easily able to take over this heavily armed area. And later on they found out that these civilians, these guards, thought that they were the Iraqis. And once they finally figured out that they were not the Iraqis but their sworn enemy, it was already too late, because by that time the Israeli forces had already took control of the town. And these type of strange events kept happening all throughout the war. And in the end, the Jewish people of Israel were not only victorious in 6 days, but they also finally took control of all their holy territory, which they had been waiting for thousands of years. And journalists and generals throughout the world stated that no military logic or natural cause could explain this victory, and many saw it as a miracle. Now, I do remember hearing in the past about angel or divine beings being seen during the Six-Day War, but while making this video, I couldn't find any documented accounts of actual angel sightings. I could only find them before or after the Six-Day War, such as I described in the beginning of the video. But to me, it seems that fear, confusion, and just unbelievable events won this war for the Israelis, such as the rabbi not getting shot, shells not exploding, or the Arab forces freezing in terror and becoming paralyzed for no reason. Now, whether one believes in God or not, something unexplainable, whatever it may be, did seem to happen here. And whatever this was did appear to be on the side of the Jewish people. And throughout the centuries, there have been other accounts of what many believe to be divine or otherworldly intervention. In 776, the Saxons were attacking the French, when all of a sudden flaming shields came down from the skies, and the Saxons believed that these flaming shields were protecting the French, and they were terrified by these objects, so they retreated, and the French were victorious. And I'm sure that there are many more of these occurrences throughout our history, and I will be sure to cover them as soon as I find them. Now, because of these unexplainable, divine-like happenings, many believe that this is undeniable proof of God. Some believe that it's the work of extraterrestrials. And all I can say is that it does seem that there is something else out there, and from time to time, and for whatever reason, this higher power does reveal itself, and it does pick sides.